Long before the rise of empires, before steel met the first battlefield, or kings carved their names into stone, the world was ruled by forces far older than mankind. Deep within the rugged spine of Black Dragon Ridge, hidden beneath layers of untouched earth and forgotten myths, lay a secret guarded since the dawn of creation. It was there, in that eternal darkness, that two primordial serpents were born. Creatures shaped not by flesh, but by the raw energies of heaven and earth. The first was known as the Green Serpent. Born from thunder and the violent breath of storm winds, it coiled like a living tempest. Lightning danced across its scales, and with every shift of its massive body, the air trembled. It was the storm-given form, wild, unrestrained, and terrifyingly alive. Wherever it stirred, the sky cracked open as if unable to contain its fury. The second was the White Serpent, a creature of water, mist, and the calm beneath the surface of the world. Its presence carried a serenity so profound that rivers slowed, forests hushed, and even the wind bowed in reverence. Cloaked in drifting fog, the White Serpent moved with a grace that did not belong to beasts, but to ancient spirits, beings entrusted with balance, not destruction. Together, they were called the Twin Serpents, guardians of equilibrium, protectors of the unseen harmony between life and ruin. When the world descended into chaos, they slept. When the ambitions of men threatened the natural order, they awoke. And so the legend says, when a ruler reaches for immortality, heaven will answer with judgment. Centuries passed, dynasties rose and collapsed into dust. Mortals forgot the pact their ancestors forged with the serpents, but fate had not forgotten them. One night, as the Qin Empire tightened its iron grip across the continent, a wandering sage entered the imperial court. His robes were tattered, his eyes clouded, as though he had stared too long into realms not meant for human sight. Before the throne of the first emperor, he spoke a warning that chilled even the boldest ministers. The moment you grasp the secret of eternal life, the heavens will rise against you. The twin serpents will awaken, and your destiny will be judged. The court murmured. Ministers exchanged fearful glances. The omen was clear, but Emperor Qin Shi Huang, the man who unified the world by force and fire, dismissed the prophecy with a wave of his hand. To him, fear was for the weak, and destiny was merely another kingdom waiting to be conquered. Yet somewhere beneath Black Dragon Ridge, in the depths untouched by sunlight, ancient scales shifted, and the world held its breath. Death haunted the first emperor like a shadow that refused to lift. He had unified the warring states, bent mountains to his will, and commanded armies that marched like thunder across the earth. Yet none of it silenced the one truth he could not conquer, the certainty that his own life would end. And so, obsession tightened around his mind like iron bands. If an empire could last forever, why not its emperor? In the cold hours before dawn, Qin Shi Huang summoned the mystic Xu Fu, an alchemist, astrologer, and rumored sorcerer whose knowledge reached further than any scholar in the imperial court. By torchlight, the emperor ordered him to embark on a voyage across the eastern sea, and his mission, find the elixir of eternity, a medicine whispered about only in legends, said to grant life unending to the worthy, and death to the unworthy. Xu Fu bowed, trembling under the weight of an order that felt more like a curse than a command. But the emperor's hunger for immortality did not stop with oceans and myths. His armies received secret directives to march toward a forbidden place, Black Dragon Ridge, a stretch of land avoided for generations, where compasses spun wildly and that animals refused to cross. Beneath it lay a network of sealed chambers known in old texts as the immortal dragon vein, said to be the lifeblood of heaven and earth. To disturb it was to disturb creation itself. Yet, Qin Shi Huang believed no force, mortal or divine, stood beyond his right to command. The soldiers dug through stone that felt unnaturally warm, through layers of earth that seemed to hum with something alive. When they reached a black slate door covered in spiraling symbols, the generals hesitated. The markings matched those in ancient myths. The signature of Nua, the primordial goddess who mended the heavens after the world's first catastrophe. But hesitation had no place in an empire built on obedience. The emperor's orders were absolute. The door was broken, and the world responded. The ground shuddered as if it had been holding its breath for centuries and could finally exhale. Winds reversed direction. Rivers briefly flowed uphill. The sky flickered with colors no human eye had ever witnessed. Farmers watched their fields split open. Mountains groaned as if alive. Across the empire, the balance of yin and yang wrenched violently out of harmony, like the snapping of a cosmic cord stretched too far. Then, silence. A silence so deep, it felt wrong. From the depths beneath Black Dragon Ridge came a sound, soft at first, like scales brushing stone, then another. 2 heartbeats, slow and ancient, thudding back to life. The twin serpents had awakened, beings older than kingdoms, older than dynasties, older than mankind itself. And their first breath marked the beginning of a catastrophe. No army, no emperor, and no empire was prepared to face. The first tremor was felt across half the empire. The second tore open the sky. From the shattered depths beneath Black Dragon Ridge, a roar spiraled upward. A sound too ancient, too vast, to belong to any living creature of this age. The air split, and the heavens darkened as thunder gathered into a single violent pulse. Then, with a force that sent shockwaves rippling across mountains, the green serpent erupted into the open sky. Its body was colossal, vast as a river turned vertical, each scale edged in lightning. Electricity raced along its spine, turning the clouds into molten gold. When its emerald eyes opened, 2 burning suns of fury and purpose, the world below trembled. The creature curled and uncurled its length, with the ease of a storm choosing where to strike, and every beat of its wings churned the sky into chaos. This was not a monster. It was an elemental force, a living clause in the universe's oldest contract. But the green serpent was not alone. A hush descended over the land as a second presence emerged. From the drifting sea of mist that blanketed the ridge, particles of white light gathered, swirling with a grace that quieted even the thunder. The air grew cold, not with fear, but with reverence. And through that shimmering veil, the white serpent rose, silent as moonlight on water. Where the green serpent crackled with violent energy, the white serpent moved like a divine melody. Its body flowed through the mist in arcs so fluid they seemed painted by the heavens themselves. Its eyes, pale, luminous, impossibly calm, carried the weight of ages. The wisdom of creation before chaos had a name. When it unfurled its wings, the clouds parted in a perfect circle, as if acknowledging the presence of something sacred. Together, the 2 titans circled above the ridge, one a storm, the other a prayer, neither born to destroy, but to restore the cosmic balance the emperor had broken. The world understood this instinctively. Animals bowed, rivers stilled, trees leaned toward the earth in a quiet posture of surrender. Nature recognized its guardians, but Qin Shi Huang did not. From his war chariot, the emperor gazed at the towering forms in the heavens and saw not keepers of order, but rivals, threats, violations of the mandate he believed belonged to him alone. The sight of the serpent spiraling through the sky, vaster than mountains, older than gods carved in stone, ignited a fury in him deeper than fear. To acknowledge them was to acknowledge that his empire was not absolute, and Qin Shi Huang had never shared authority with anyone, mortal or divine. "Prepare the ballistae," he ordered, voice cold as iron. "Load the thunderbolts. If heaven sends beasts upon my land, then I will tame heaven." Around him, generals hesitated. Soldiers exchanged uncertain glances, but the emperor's command left no room for doubt. Across the ridge, the titans paused, feeling the shift, sensing hostility. The green serpent arched upward, lightning gathering at its throat. The white serpent coiled defensively, wings rising like shields of mist and moonlight. In the sky, the guardians prepared to defend the balance. On the ground, the emperor prepared to defy the cosmos. And at that moment, between thunder and breath, between destiny and hubris, war became inevitable. The war began far from the capital, in the vast emptiness of the Huaixi Desert, where dunes rolled like sleeping beasts beneath a sky bruised by storm clouds. Qin banners snapped violently in the wind, tens of thousands of soldiers forming ranks as precise as the gears of a war machine. Drums thundered, dust rose in spirals. The empire was ready, but the desert was not. A flicker of green lightning slithered across the horizon, silent at first, like a warning whispered from the bones of the earth. Then, in a single instant that shattered all silence, the green serpent descended. Its scales caught the storm's fury, reflecting a sickle green glow across the sand. The creature's roar rolled through the dunes like an avalanche. Qin archers released a volley so dense it turned the sky black, but the arrows bounced off the serpent's hide as if striking iron. Sparks scattered like stars across its emerald armor. Commander Meng Yi shouted orders. Ballista crews pulled hard on ropes, releasing massive bolts that sailed through the storm, only to snap on impact like twigs. The creature's body twisted, coiling into a spiral of lightning, and with one violent crack of its tail, the desert exploded. Sand rose in a towering wall, engulfing men, horses, and entire regiments. Then came the lightning. A single arc struck the center of the Qin formation. The night lit up like dawn. When the light faded, thousands of soldiers were gone, reduced to ash and shadows. For the first time in his reign, Qin Shi Huang witnessed the full insignificance of human power. The green serpent soared back into the clouds, coils glowing with the fury of a living storm. The emperor clenched his fists around the railing of his command chariot, but refused to step back. If the heavens sought to humble him, he would answer with fire. The war moved south, into the Bashu jungles, where humidity hung thick as breath. Soldiers marched under vines as wide as their arms, the forest alive with sounds of creatures that vanished for centuries. But tonight, the jungle stood still, as if holding its breath for what approached. Under a moon pale as bleached bone, the white serpent descended in silence. Its arrival did not break the trees. Instead, mist billowed upward, curling around branches, weaving through leaves like silk. The serpent's form shifted, its glowing body contracting, shrinking, reshaping until a figure stepped forward, a woman draped in white, hair flowing like river water, eyes luminous with a light untouched by time. The soldiers froze. Even the emperor stood speechless. Her voice was soft, yet every leaf trembled at its resonance. "Your pursuit of immortality has fractured the world," she said. "Restore the seal before the balance collapses." There was no threat in her tone, only warning. But warnings were wasted on emperors who listened only to glory. Qin Shi Huang lifted his sword. "I do not bow to serpents in the dark," he declared. "The outworld is mine to command." The white serpent looked at him, not with anger, but with a sorrow ancient as the mountains. Mist swirled, and she rose once more into her celestial form, disappearing into the treetops as quietly as she had arrived. The emperor turned to his generals. "Ready every weapon. If gods stand in my way, then tonight, gods fall." And so, the empire obeyed. By the time the war reached Black Dragon Ridge, Qin's might stood fully unleashed. Chariots rumbled like thunder across stone. Elite imperial guards advanced with shields locked tight. Rows of repeating crossbows released mechanical storms of bolts. Fire lances spat jets of flame into the sky, illuminating the ridge with violent red light. The battlefield blazed like the forge of a new world. Yet against the twin serpents, beings born from the first breath of creation, these weapons were little more than sparks in the wind. The green serpent cut through fire lances with arcs of lightning. The white serpent shattered formations, not with force, but with waves of pressure that bent the air itself. This was not a war of men against beasts. It was a war of mortals against myth. A clash between the empire built by human hands and the guardians shaped by cosmic balance. And as the ridge trembled beneath their conflict, one truth echoed through the heavens. The Qin Emperor had challenged forces older than the empire, and the world would bear the cost. Black Dragon Ridge loomed like the spine of some ancient titan, jagged peaks clawing at the sky as storm clouds churned overhead. The air itself felt charged, alive, quivering with the power of forces long buried. And into this storm, Qin Shi Huang advanced at the head of his elite vanguard, armored in obsidian iron, eyes blazing with a fire that matched the heavens. This was no longer just a campaign. It was an emperor marching to challenge fate itself. As the Qin army pushed deeper into the ridge, the ground shuddered beneath their boots. Rocks tumbled down the slopes, trees cracked, the wind howled in unnatural spirals. And from the heart of the mountain, two titanic forces answered the emperor's intrusion. The twin serpents rose together, The green serpent erupted first, ascending in a vortex of lightning so bright it burned shadows into the soldier's armor. Storm clouds coiled around its body like living chains, and the creature unleashed a roar that tore the sky open. Winds screamed, thunder detonated, the ridge shook as if the world were splitting in two. Then, the white serpent emerged. Mist cascaded from the cliffs like waterfalls of moonlight, gathering into a colossal wave that climbed higher, higher, until it blotted out the stars. With a single sweeping motion of its divine body, the wave surged forward, a wall of water infused with celestial energy, beautiful and terrifying all at once. Together, the serpents moved as one, storm and flood, fury and grace, guardians of a world that the Emperor had tried to rewrite. And the mountain responded. Deep beneath the earth, the dragon vein, the ancient life thread of the land, began to crack. Light bled from the fissures, white and green, pulsing like a heartbeat on the brink of stopping. The world trembled. The air tasted of lightning and salt. Nature itself was unraveling. Amid the chaos, Shufu stepped forward, eyes wild with fear and revelation. "Your Majesty," he whispered, trembling, "the immortality you seek, the elixir, never existed. The seal was the source, the power of a god. Breaking it condemns the empire." The Emperor's wrath froze. Shufu fell to his knees. Only a new sacrifice can restore balance. Without one, the world will tear itself apart. Before Qin Shi Huang could speak, the mountain exploded into war. The final battle ignited. Firestorm stones, ancient bombs carved from volatile minerals, were hurled into the canyons. They ignited with sun-hot fury, splitting cliffs and sending waves of molten rock cascading downward. The green serpent lunged, but as the ridge collapsed, its titanic body was swallowed by a roaring avalanche of stone and flame. Its thunderous cry echoed through the mountains, then faded beneath the rubble. The white serpent rose above the destruction, its scales glowing with fading divine light. Instead of retaliating, it turned toward the heart of the broken dragon vein. Mist spiraled around it, forming intricate patterns, runic seals, ancient and sacred. Its body dissolved into light, weaving itself into a new barrier, a new prison. At the final moment, its voice echoed through the collapsing ridge. "Sister, live." The seals snapped shut. The storms died. The waters fell still. The mountain fell silent, as if the world itself held its breath. The mountain lay silent. Smoke curled from the shattered cliffs, mingling with the faint mist of the dragon vein. The air itself seemed to hold its breath, as if the world were waiting for judgment to pass. High above, where storm and mist had once clashed, the spirit of the white serpent lingered, shimmering like moonlight caught in water. Its form was fading, ethereal, yet its presence carried the weight of eternity. "You have won the battle, Emperor," it said, voice soft but piercing, echoing across the ruined peaks and into the valleys below. "But you have lost your place under heaven. You will never achieve immortality, and your empire will crumble from the fear in your own heart." Qin Shi Huang rode through the aftermath, his banners tattered, his soldiers weary. The empire stretched before him, vast and powerful, yet fragile in ways no human hand could mend. Every city, every fortress, every loyal subject seemed smaller now, dwarfed by the memory of what he had faced and failed to master. Triumph had become a ghost, a hollow victory overshadowed by the knowledge that some forces were beyond the reach of even the greatest ruler. He returned to his palaces, to his treasures and armies, but the emptiness followed him like a shadow. Nights were restless, dreams were haunted by storms and tides, by eyes that glowed like burning emerald and pale light that carried judgment older than empires. The Emperor's ambition had conquered men, but it had not conquered fate, and when death finally came, on the road away from the grandeur of his courts, it was not sudden, nor was it mercy. It was deliberate, silent, and absolute. The quiet judgment of the serpents, a reckoning that could not be denied. The empire endured, yes, but it carried a scar invisible yet unhealable, a reminder that even power forged by iron and fire could not stand against the immutable laws of heaven. Above the mountains, the twin serpents watched, patient and eternal. The world had been tested. Balance had been restored, and the memory of mortal's ambition lingered only as a warning.